Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Toyzilla, and here is another episode of Toyzilla's Book Club. We are continuing our book, The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Better. So yeah, y'all see the nice, pretty book. It's kind of, I can't get the glow to get off of there, but yeah, this is what my copy looks like, a paperback. If you haven't read any of the chapters before, we're doing chapters 50, 51, and 52. So you can look on our Toyzilla YouTube page and go ahead and make sure that you know what's happening. I don't want to give any spoilers. So I always say that before we start reading so y'all just know what we doing, how it's feeling. If you have some artwork that you happen to draw while we're reading the book and you feel like you want to send it in, just let me know inside the comment section and then I'll let y'all know where to send them. I haven't gotten any requests yet, so y'all don't get no comments yet telling y'all where to send them. But all right, now let's go ahead and get started. Y'all know our streaming days is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when we do the video game portion. And then afterwards, we do a couple of chapters of reading. And, well, we always try to. About 2 or 3. And if you don't want to catch them live, again, you can come watch the videos. I always post them to YouTube. So let us begin, because I'm excited to see what happens next. Now that Alice has finally found the crystal scepter. Oh, yeah, y'all. I was excited. We almost at the end of the book. Y'all see how much we got left? We did this whole chunk already. Chapter 50. I run Red Waft. She squinted out the observation dome as Alice's transmission ended. Alice Hart's misplaced confidence will be the death of her. Today, Wonderland will be rid of Alice Hart for good. Jack of Diamonds asserted with a puffing out of his already puffed out belly. He was perhaps too eager to please because Red flicked an annoyed glance at the wig beast. I I beg your pardon for speaking, your imperial viciousness, he said. Beg all you want, you powdered and pampered idiot. If I don't get into the looking glass maze soon, it will make no difference to your fate. The cat grinned and smoothed his whiskers. The Lord and Lady of Diamonds, the Lord and Lady of Clubs, and the Lord and Lady of Spades, who together made a Bread's cabinet of military oversight, shuffled their feet, cleared their throats, and in general enacted every nervous tick available to people unsure of how to ingratiate themselves with their moody, unpredictable leader. Your Imperial Viciousness, the Lady of Clubs ventured, with all due respect, even if Alice is not a threat, we think you should move the heart crystal to a more secure location. Red thought this funny, in a pathetic sort of way, since neither the Lady of Clubs nor any of the other cabinet members knew where the heart crystal was. We, protested the Lady of Diamonds. The Lady of Clubs speaks for herself, your Imperial Viciousness. Absolutely speaks for herself, seconded the Lord of Spades, and Red, raising an eyebrow, asked the Lady of Clubs, did you just tell me what I should do? I apologize, your Imperial Viciousness. I spoke out of, you think my strength is not protection enough for the heart crystal? Do you, in fact, suppose that my reign is in danger? No, of course not. What I meant, the Lady of Clubs was fortunate that the strangled baby cries of homecoming seekers interrupted them. The cat bounded out of the dome and returned in less time than it took Red to grow impatient. In his paw he carried the glowing cube, key to the looking glass maze. Red held out her hand and flew it to her. In any case, she said, pressing each of the cube's sides, squeezing it all over, turning it this way and that, none of you need worry about the heart crystal. It's not here at the fortress. Why can't I get this to work? Jack of Diamonds stepped forward. Allow me, your Imperial Viciousness. Jack took the cube. He pressed each of its sides, squeezed it all over, turned it this way and that. He began shaking it close to his ear, listening for loose parts inside, while Red addressed her cabinet. I refuse to leave this fortress. It would look cowardly when I have nothing to fear. If Alice wants to fight me, so much the better. I'll put an end to her. But let no one say that Queen Red is insensitive. If I have no power, you people have even less than I let you believe. Alice wouldn't spoil you as I do. If it will make you all feel better, order the cut to prepare a defense. The cat will see to the glass eyes. Your imperial viciousness? The cat said, and drew Red's attention with a nod to Jack of Diamonds, who was still tinkering with the glass cube. What? Jack said. It's not broken. Takes a minute to decipher the code, but I'll have it soon enough. It's not broken, I say. It's not broken, I say. It had better not be, Red warned through thin, bloodless lips. She swooped out of the dome, down the spiraling hall, and across the open expanse of a ballroom that had never been used. The far wall of the ballroom was decorated with a huge quartz and agate mosaic of the queen's face, and as Red approached it, the portrait's mouth opened and she entered a secret passage known only to herself and the cat. The passage led to a balcony overlooking the hollowed-out heart of the fortress. It was here, in the secret heart of the fortress, girded about by supports, that the heart crystal burned a dark crimson as it had since Red's assumption to power. As it had since Red's assumption to power. Sorry, I'm trying to get the flow of reading down past what seems adventurous to y'all. She leaned over the balcony's edge and placed her hands on the crystal, its power surging through her, strengthening her for the battle to come. Yeah, for the coming battle. Y'all get it. Chapter 51. Princess Alice Hart was spotted ordering a mug of cider in a brew house near the city center. She was seen nibbling a guanoot kebab in Timon Street and skulking along the avenue outside the Red Apartments complex. She was glimpsed entering a tube station at Red Square, on a safari in outer Wildebeestium, and at various other locations engaged in a variety of activities. But the glass eyes and card soldiers dispatched to destroy these Alices found nothing, because these Alices were specters, reflections come to life, conjurings from the real princess's imagination that had dispersed throughout the queendom to confuse Red's all-seeing eye. While Red's forces were occupied with the decoys, Alice and her companions made it to the outskirts of the chessboard desert. The checkered land stretched before them, the promontory of Mount Isolation visible in the middle distance. The White Knight and Rook were tending to their men, bandaging wounds suffered in the Emerald Drive skirmish, instructing them to double-check all ammunition supplies and be sure weapons were functioning properly. Dodge kept to himself, studying the sword in his lap as if to ensure that it would be able to do what he'd set his mind to, taking the cats' lives. Alice should have been entirely focused on developing a sound military strategy, but she couldn't help glancing at Dodge every now and again, her attention divided. Revenge cannot possibly purge him of hate, but he won't listen to me, won't listen to anyone. Alice? Yes? From the expressions of Bibwood Hart, Hatter Madigan, Humbrig Molly, and General Doppelganger, it was clear that she had missed something. There is a lot of desert still to cross, Bibwood said, indicating the distance to the fortress, and the problem of storming Mount Isolation, so ideally suited for defense, added the general, will need an army greater than Red's. Our objective is to remove Red from power, Alice said, loud enough for Dodge to hear. Our objective is the heart crystal, not vengeance. Dodge didn't look up from his sword. He heard me. I know he heard me. Where Red is, that's where we'll find the heart crystal, said Bibwood. She'll want to remain close to it to maximize her strength. But can you conjure a force of the size we'll need, Princess? Asked General Doppelganger. I don't know. To conjure several doubles of herself was one thing, but an entire army? You must try, Bibwood said. She looked to the others. Hatter made a silent, respectful bow. Molly nodded, eager. The chessmen watched, waited, even Dodge was watching. To conjure an army, she would need to be extremely focused and precise. The millions of details of dress and weaponry, if a single one weren't imagined vividly enough, it would compromise the whole, and her imagining would fail. She may have felt stronger than ever, but strong enough for this? Her scepter, once again whole, showed the intensity of her effort. The white crystal heart at its top glowed brighter and brighter, flashed and zapped as it became a cloud of electrical charges with lightning-like bolts of energy sprouting out of it, encircling Alice. When these fireworks stopped and Alice again focused her sight on her surroundings rather than her internal visions, she beheld an enormous army of Allison's soldiers standing in formation and fanned out behind her. The soldiers were a short distance off, and she couldn't even see the end of them. There were so many. I did it. I. Someone was laughing. Alice turned. I'm sorry, Princess Alice, Humbug Molly said, slapping a hand to her mouth, but unable to keep from laughing. What had come over the girl? Bidwit, never one to take appearances for granted, approached Alice's conjured army for a closer inspection. Ah, the army consisted of toy soldiers, figurines no larger than the tutor's ears. The princess is too far from the heart crystal, he said. She cannot defeat Red from here. General Doppelganger split into the twin figures of General Doppel and Ganger, and the two of them paced in perfect step with each other. Well, we have to get her. We have to get her somehow, General Doppel said. But without an army of soldiers that are of a more normal size, said General Ganger, our cause is lost. It was Alice's turn to approach the soldiers. To her, they had looked suitable enough. She picked up one of the toy soldiers and imagined it marching back and forth in her hand. I have an idea, she said. Chapter 52. The fortress was surrounded. Regiments of the cut had been amassed from across the queendom and stood ready to defend Red's stronghold. Their ranks formed the front line, and behind them, as the second line of defense, were platoon after platoon of glass eyes. Both the card soldiers and glass eyes were armed with the full array of weaponry available to them in Red's Wonderland. Orb generators, whip snake grenades, crystal shooters, cannonball spiders, 8052s, all manner of knives and swords. As the suns rose on a new day, Red was breakfasting on spicy, crunchy Tuttlebird legs in the observation dome. The cat and the members of her cabinet, none of whom had eaten since the previous midday, looked on with hungry eyes but said nothing. Jack of Diamonds had wisely excused himself from the dome, but more because he feared Red watching him toy unsuccessfully with the key to the looking-glass maze than because of his stomach's grumbling. Red's teeth crunched down on the only remaining Tuttlebird leg, and last scrap of night's shadow faded with the day, and they all saw it at once. Gazing out through the telescopic glass, it would have been impossible to miss. An Allison army, seeming to rival the population of the queendom itself, massed a short distance off and waiting to attack. Like Red's forces, the Allisons were armed with orb generators, whip snake grenades, cannonball spiders, 8052s. How has Alice gathered such an immense army? The Lady of Spades asked. They'll just have a larger body count, Red fumed. Sitting astride a spirit dame at the head of the soldiers, Alice raised her arm and held it above her head a moment before bringing it down into a quick motion. The Allisons charged toward the fortress. Deal the first hand, Red ordered. Outside, the cut launched orb generators and a cannonball spider at the advancing Allisons. Direct hits, many of them, which should have taken out entire columns of the enemy. The card soldiers followed up the barrage by charging into the smoke and flame. Confident, Red eyed the scene from her perch in the dome, but when the smoke cleared and she saw her soldiers surrounded by tallying Allisons, her weapons had had zero effect and the miniature army continued to push toward the fortress. Red's face contorted with a sudden realization. How could I have been so stupid? The cat was trying to decide if there was a rhetorical question when she roared. It's a construct. With a dismissive swing of Red's arm, Alice and her army began to shimmer. The billion points of energy that formed them momentarily visible before exploding apart into nothing. Red scoped the queendom with her imagination's eye. Where are you, Alice? Where is my dear little niece? Alice and the others could hear the explosions and the rasping metallic sounds of the current racing toward the conjured army as they came upon the fortress from the opposite side. Until now, their approach had been covert. They traveled only over the desert's black squares of tar and volcanic rock to camouflage themselves from Red's lookouts. But to enter the fortress, they would have no choice but to show themselves in open warfare. Under cover of the black rock, Hatter flicked his top hat into blades and winged them at the card soldiers and glass eyes guarding the fortress's entrance. While the weapon was still in the air, he activated his wrist blades and charged. Molly flattened her Humberg into its slicing shield and took up his left flank with dodge, while Generals Doppel and Ganger took up his right, and the chessmen followed. We must be getting close to the heart crystal, Alice said to Bibwit. The tutor looked at her, his ears bent in a questioning manner. I don't know how to explain it. The princess reached out both arms and extended her 10 fingers toward the fighting in front of her. Starbright branches of energy shot out of her fingers, forking and attaching themselves to card soldiers and glass eyes until every single one of them was caught on an end, while the others' ends were, ultimately, still attached to Alice's fingers. The princess then raised her arms above her head, and the card soldiers and glass eyes lifted into the air, helpless. She sent them reeling through the sky. Somewhere in the chessboard desert, it was raining card soldiers and glass eyes. The sound of orb generators exploding on Alice's conjured army still assaulted the Allison's ears, but it stopped almost as soon as they entered the fortress. Silence could mean only one thing. She knows, Alice said. Can you see her? Asked Bibwit. Alice felt that she was close to the heart crystal. Remote viewing wasn't something she'd been able to do before, but Red was now clearly visible in her imagination's eye, standing in a large, open room at the foot of a spiral hall, beckoning Alice with a cold smile on her lips. The steady pulse of the heart crystal was behind the queen, obscured somehow. She's waiting for me, Alice said. We should split into factions for safety, General Doppel urged. 2 targets may be harder to combat, agreed General Ganger, and we can surround Red if it comes to that. Bibwit, Rook, Molly, you come with us. I'm staying with Princess Alice, Molly said. Exchanged glances all around. The girl looked quite adamant, and this was no time for argument. Let her come with me, Alice said. The generals dipped their heads, whatever the princess wished. Knight, Hatter, and Dodge will also accompany you, said General Doppel, which was when they noticed that Dodge was no longer among them. Where did he go? Asked General Ganger. To find the cat. Alice sighted him in her imagination's eye, cautiously picking his way down the hall. If he crosses paths with Red, he'll try to engage with her. She cast her worried eyes toward Bibwit. He too knew why Dodge had left them, and Dodge's selfish desire for retribution might compromise the Allison's chance for victory. We'll split the pawns between us, said General Doppel. Meet us at the Heart Crystal, Alice said. Look for a spiral hall. The generals bowed, by which time may the peace of white imagination have descended on the queen. Let me restart that sentence. By which time may the peace of white imagination have descended on the queendom. Using her imagination's eye as guide, Alice led Humberg Molly, Hatter Madigan, and the chessmen through the fortress. If it was as if she had been there before, the way she maneuvered without hesitation through the passageways, heading straight for Red, while elsewhere avoiding detection by the packs of card soldiers that patrolled the gloomy rooms and halls. It was easy to avoid the enemy when he worked alone. Dodge hunted for the cat. Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. He had already crept around the fortress's lower floors, visiting the Seeker's cave in the empty hall of the glass eyes, and was now systematically working his way up, floor by floor. Ahead of him, the hall curved up and out of sight like a corkscrew. He could have taken any of the corridors that branched off to the left and right of them, but something, a feeling, an instinct propelled him forward. Not 3 spirit lengths away from the ballroom in which Red waited for Alice, he heard urgent, hushed voices coming from behind a door on his right. He didn't care if it was to be among his last actions in life. He didn't care about anything except confronting his whiskered nemesis. He kicked open the door and found, not the cat, but Jack of Diamonds and the walrus butler hiding from the violence. They both jumped, startled at Dodge's sudden entrance, but Jack was quick to recover. He took a small knife from his waistcoat pocket and jabbed the air in the general direction of the walrus. Hi-ya! Ya! We've got you now. Thank Izza you've come, he said to Dodge. I thought I'd have to kill all of them myself. Hua! Cha-cha! Jack went on jabbing the air, but Dodge wasn't fooled, especially because Jack was trying to shove the key to the looking-glass maze into a pocket of his pantaloons. To Dodge, anyone who had collaborated with his father's murderers was an enemy. There's only one reward for a traitor, he said, and raised his sword to strike Jack of Diamonds, a fatal blow when the unmistakable sound of purring. He spun around, saw the cat standing in the doorway. And what is my reward? Asked the beast. Dodge gave voice to no warrior yell, no cry of attack. He simply ran at the cat, sword first. The creature leaped to the side of Dodge's blade, missed, clanged against the stone wall just as the cat swatted his shoulder with a claw, tearing his Allison uniform. Dodge himself was only grazed. 4 thin lines of blood formed on his skin. It could have been worse. A little something to match the ones on your face, the cat said, indicating the scars on Dodge's cheek. Dodge feigned left, and as the cat moved right to avoid him, he spun and stabbed the beast with a knuckle blade on his free hand, an ancient Wonderland weapon. The tops of its rings, holes sharpened to a blade that spanned the width of 4 fingers. A patch of the cat's fur, matted with blood, but it wasn't a fatal wound. The cat lunged, a balletic move, landing on his front paws and kicking Dodge with his hind ones. The claws making shallow puncture marks in Dodge's chest and sending him stumbling to the floor. Seeing that the doorway was clear, Jack of Diamonds and the walrus ran out of the room, each hurrying on his own way in search of a new hiding place. Alice was fast approaching the spiral hall, sandwiched between Hatter and Molly for protection, but she paused. What is it, Princess Alice? Molly asked. In her imagination's eye, she saw the cat pounce. She saw Dodge roll clear and get to his feet, ready to face whatever might come next, battered and bleeding, but as determined as ever. It's Dodge, she said. He's... But just then, a patrol of card soldiers spotted her and rushed forward. In a wall to her right, Alice imagined a doorway opening into the fortress's many unused rooms, and just as she, Molly, Hatter, and the others passed through it, with all the card soldiers but one a few steps behind them, and that one, a 3 card in the doorway itself, she imagined it gone. The doorway vanished, leaving the 3 card half sealed in the wall and the rest of the card soldiers stranded on the other side of it without their quarry. Dodge. She focused her imagination's eye on him, saw him punching the cat in the face with the handle of his sword. I won't risk losing him a second time. She created another dodge. I'll do this myself, he screamed when he saw his double. He slashed at his conjured self, which gave the cat a chance to shove him away and gain some room. The double disappeared and the cat went at Dodge with his front paws poised to strike. Bad move. Dodge used the paws as targets, With his sword in one hand and the knuckle blade on the other, he stabbed them both simultaneously, and before the cat could retreat, he sunk his sword deep and hard through the beast's rib cage. The cat crumbled to the floor, lifeless. "Get up!" Dodge shouted. "Get up! Get up! Get up!" It felt as if he waited 9 lifetimes for the cat to regain consciousness. He saw the beast's eyelids tremble and again sank his sword into the furry chest. He didn't know that Genevieve and the Hatter had already each taken one of the cat's lives, and that Red herself had taken 3 more. Now that he tasted the revenge for which he'd waited so long, he was in a frenzy of rage and impatience for it to be over. "Come on, get up!" Dodge understood that a soldier's reflexes were fastest when he was relaxed, but his emotions were getting the better of his training, and he failed to anticipate the cat's cleverness. He stood over the creature, watching for the slightest movement, but upon again regaining life, the cat held himself as still as death, so that his first move wasn't a flicker of eye muscle, but the swipe of a claw across Dodge's thigh, inflicting the deepest wound yet. "Ah!" Dodge fell back. Blood pumped through his shredded trousers and down his leg. Slowly, almost leisurely, the cat stood. His wounds were healed, and he grinned. He appeared revived, stronger than ever, while Dodger's injuries were beginning to make themselves felt, his reaction slower, his shoulder and leg and chest pulsing with pain. The cat stepped toward him, and for the first time in the fight, Dodge moved backwards, a whisper of defeat in his head as Alice at last came upon the ballroom where Red waited. "I send you wishes and hope for survival, Dodge, since you won't let me send anything else. Please try not to let your darkest urges overtake what's good in you." She was about to enter the ballroom when a horde of glass eyes ambushed her soldiers, and suddenly Hatter, Molly, the knight, and chessmen were fighting for their lives all around her. Red wants to face her alone. Clink! Shrink! The way Hatter and Molly fought, the particular manner in which they spun, kicked, twirled, punched, and used their millinery weapons was very similar. She fights more like a full-fledged member of the millinery than a Hatter. But the thought was as fleeting as thoughts can be, and as Alice entered the ballroom, she left the Allisons to fight for themselves, her entire being focused on her aunt, with whom she was about to come face to face for only the second time ever. Whew. And that's the end of chapter 52, everybody. Oh my goodness. I don't know about y'all, but Dodge is full of himself, not accepting that help. I mean, you couldn't do it alone the first time. Of course, he was like, 7 years old the first time? My bad. So if I'm watching, y'all found yourselves, again, making some artwork for me, please send it in. I really want to see it. But until next time, y'all know our viewing schedule. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when we start the video game portion. And then after that, we do a couple of chapters of reading. Or, if you don't want to catch it live, you just wait here for it to show up on YouTube again. So I'll see y'all next week. This has been Toyzilla's Book Club. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Toyzilla is out.